Well, hey there, it's Ron Rogers, and you're probably wondering, why haven't we heard, oh, this is the vet, why haven't we heard an update in like 3 weeks? You know, you're giving all these updates on the status of your 310 and that, and it just went quiet. Well, I'll tell you why it went quiet. It's because I went to Europe on a river cruise, and I've got a few videos on that, because it's kind of the river cruise from hell. But anyway, we had the 2 jugs off, and it takes a while to do that, so the 310 isn't done. It's still sitting here, it's still apart. It still needs these things to get better overall compression. So, okay, well, that's not unexpected, you know. I mean, it takes a while to get those things fixed, so, okay, that's a good deal. Well, then the other thing is, I got my Great Lakes back here. Okay, we'll go on back here, we'll take a look at that. We'll mosey around here. And here is the Great Lakes. And it's in there also. Well, we had hoped this would have been done by now, but they ran into an interesting, well, 2 problems, and my mechanic kind of chastised me a little bit, but this is, I don't think this is my fault. You see this thing here? I'll tell you where they found that. They found it all the way in the back, where, you know, all the flight controls come for the elevator. It was way back here in the tail, right back here. And first of all, okay, how did that get back here? And you know, you do this thing, well, this is a little too solid here because all the stringers come together, and I do that to hear anything bouncing. That's part of the standard Great Lakes pre-flight. And you know, didn't hear anything. But what happened on this, you notice that's not attached, that's the crotch strap. I have been trying to get Great Lakes for 3 years. They tell me, oh, we're going to do the engineering on that because you want a 5-point harness aerobatics. You know, you got the 2 shoulder here, and then you got the 2 side down there, and it's got the double lap belt, which is really cool. But you also want something to keep, you know, you from lifting out of the seat. And it should be on an aerobatic aircraft, and they said, well, we're going to do the engineering, and that's been 3 years, and it's been longer because there's other people complaining about it. Okay, so that's one issue. Now, how did it get there? Okay, if it's not attached to anything, how did it even get in the airplane? Well, what happened was, I took it up when they did the last annual up at Great Lakes, and I said, hey, you know, here are the crotch straps. You guys are going to, at any day now, get this thing taken care of. So, hey, here are the crotch straps. And when I picked up the airplane, I only had one of them. Okay, and like, where's the other one? Well, they didn't know. They had no idea where it went, and they eventually ordered me one, and I got it. And then when my mechanics here were doing this, he shows me this thing that was stuck in the back where you really don't want it. So that is not a good thing. And then one other thing came up, kind of interesting, and you know, I check for the ailerons movement and stuff like this when I do the pre-flight, but what I don't check is this little part here. See that vertical play? Yeah, that's, you know, is that right or not? So they got a call in the Great Lakes. It's even worse here. Look at that. That shouldn't be, that really shouldn't be do that, but it's hard to get a call back from them at Great Lakes, unfortunately. I guess they're busy or whatever, but they've got a call in and they want to find out, you know, is that play normal? Do they need to shim it? And from the start, I've had issues with the aileron. There's about a couple of degree dihedral in these lower wings, and the push rod for the ailerons didn't have dihedral in it, and it was binding, and I had a big problem with that binding, and I said, this doesn't feel right. And what they finally did was go, yeah, you're right, that's wrong. And so they corrected that, and the bushings were way too tight, they said, and that was restricting it. So I guess they loosened them up. When it was Oshkosh first on, that's when they found that issue, so they loosened that up. So anyway, we've had some nice days here, and I kind of kid them. They went in and picked it up from my hangar. This small hangar is actually air conditioned, and they were having 95 degrees, and I said, hey, you guys need to work on this in the air conditioning. And it was kind of like, yeah, that would have been nice, but oh, here is, what's that hanging there? I have to ask him about that. Yeah, that doesn't look good. What is that about? Anyway, but here's what it looks like, you know, more detail with the cowling off. All the engine parts. Here's the heater, of course. That only comes to the rear cockpit. That's the fuel pump to give you fuel pressure when you do aerobatics. You turn that thing on. This nice composite prop. Boy, does that thing spin. Of course, there's the little alternator. and only 4 cylinders. And here's of course the fuel oil separator. I mean it gives you inverted oil. That's what it does. And there's where I plug in my battery minder right there. That's the checking the sump there, and the air hoses for cooling of the oil cooler here. That's the brake reservoir. So that's all the goodies here. But anyway, they hope to get an answer. When they get an answer from Great Lakes, they should be able to take care of this thing, and then it's a real good course inspection. This is the bottom sump. I had trouble with that, like I told you, I think in one of the other videos of all the problems. That thing would just leak, and they finally fixed that, and there's another one up on the other side, the bottom of the wing. But anyway, it's had its growing pains. For a brand new aircraft, you think you wouldn't have that, but anyway, you did. But hopefully it'll be done very soon, and I can go flying it again, because I spent the 3 weeks in Europe and didn't get to fly, so I am ready to go flying again. Anyway, that's the story of the updates. It's wonderful to have 2 aircraft in annual at the same time. Yeah, I'm waiting to write the check on that. But anyway, hopefully it'll get out, and they're getting the cylinders in today on the 310. If I didn't mention that, they're getting the cylinders in today, and they're going to put them on, so that'll take care of that. And they've got to do just some final checks on the 310, and then it'll be ready to fly. But do a check out there. So that's the story of 2 airplanes in maintenance at the same time. Oh fun, oh joy. Anyway, hey, that's the update. Thanks for watching. Bye.